Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Cosmo Muse Tarot. And this week's reading, we are going to be looking at which timeline are you kind of phasing out of and which new timeline are you going to be jumping into as you wrap up an old story. So kind of looking at stories, like what story is wrapping up and what new story is waiting to come in. And the sense I have of this is it's like something right on the horizon within like the next week or so. And it's like this feeling of a timeline jump. So we've got 3 piles to choose from. Pile 1, I just pulled like different little flowers from my yard. So I don't know, like this is more of kind of a weed that comes up. So I don't know exactly what it is, but it's like a purpley blue pretty little thing that comes up in the spring where I live. This is a hellebore, pile 2. That's something I did actually plant. And then pile 3 is this beautiful sunny dandelion. And feel free to choose more than one. The way I see timelines is we're very dynamic people and we have multiple timelines that we are playing out at once. So maybe you are getting ready to shift, several timelines, more than one. So whatever you feel drawn to, I'll give you a minute here to pause and feel into these 3 piles, the 3 flowers. And when you're ready, timestamps will be in the descriptions and you can just jump straight to your reading. Hello, pile 1. Welcome to your reading where we are going to be looking at what timeline are you sort of phasing out of and what is this new timeline jump that you're going to be going to. So something that will feel like you're jumping from one kind of thread and story in your life to a very different one. So the way I wanted to do this is we're going to be looking first at the old timeline to get kind of a comparison. And that old timeline will help you to sort of identify what is coming to a close, what storyline is sort of played out, gone where it has the ability to go and is just sort of ready to kind of exit, and what's going to kind of fill that vacuum. So we're going to do 2 rows of cards. The top row will be some oracle cards that will help us tap into the theme of what this past timeline is that you are phasing out of, and then the bottom row will be tarot cards just to kind of fill in the story a little bit more. Okay, so we are going to first get an animal power card. Dolphin, open up to emotional healing. Okay, so some kind of healing timeline, a journey of healing. It's possible you've been exploring spirituality or been, seeing a counselor or just reading up a lot about, it could be anything, mental health or boundaries or, maybe you've experienced narcissistic abuse or, some inner child stuff that you've needed to navigate, or you could have been doing more ancestral work and kind of doing some healing for your whole ancestral line. So just something along the lines, kind of tap into what that feels like to you. What does the dolphin feel like to you that you've kind of been swimming in some emotional depths and healing? And I do like this with the dolphin because dolphins to me are very playful. So I feel like you're coming up, and this dolphin is coming up to the surface. It's like you've been down and you're coming back up to be more playful. It feels like, as you're ending this, like you've seen what you needed to see and you're coming back up for some air with a little bit more of a playful vibe coming through. Okay. Taking risks. Wow, that's interesting. Okay. some of that emotional healing may have been just about where you've limited yourself in life, where you've played too small, where you've held yourself back, where you've told yourself smaller stories, or just kind of like haven't wanted to like been too guarded emotionally, felt like too vulnerable to take risks, and that's something you've really been examining. Okay, let's see what the flower oracle wants to say. We've got orchid with rarity, sensuality, and luxury. Oh, I love that. I'm gonna try and scoot these just a stitch more because I have a couple more cards I need to be able to fit. I don't know why it's so funny. This artist has come up for me a lot lately, and I've never really paid attention to her just because she's, a lot younger than me. So it's just like not really nothing against the artist. She just, is in a different generation than me. So I'm not always that interested in what she's talking about. But for whatever reason, with her new album out, I have been sort of fascinated by her as Selena Gomez. And that rare, I know she has like a beauty line, Rare Beauty, but I think in a previous album, she had, like I've learned a little bit about her in the last month, so I might be playing catch up on things you guys might already know, or if you know nothing about Selena, I'll just tell you what's popping up for me in this storyline, where it's like she was in like a very sort of toxic relationship in her past, and kind of went through a healing journey to spend more time with herself and love herself, and came to recognize that she's like a rare beauty. Like everything about her and everything about each one of us is rare and unique and original. And now she's found this, she's engaged to someone new and has found her true love, and she wasn't ready for that. That's, things she's been saying in interviews recently, is she doesn't think that if that relationship had come into her life earlier, that she would have accepted it because she didn't feel deserving of it, taking that risk into really being loved. And it's like loving yourself first. There's something about that coming up. So it doesn't have to be a relationship story for you guys, but there's something about like more self-love, really seeing yourself more as this like playful, beautiful, interesting, unique dolphin versus, I don't know, like maybe before you just saw yourself as like a little mussel on the ocean floor or something that didn't have as much range, or was just kind of clammed up, their emotions were like clammed up a little bit. And so that could pertain to any kind of avenue of life, taking the risks to start a business, taking the risks to truly being loved. But there's something here about like really loving yourself, and that allowing you to see your value, because we've got luxury here. And sensuality to me has a lot to do with value. That's like a very Taurus, in astrology, a very Taurus related word, and Taurus rules like our senses and what we find value in and pleasure in, and they're all kind of tied together. So I do feel this sort of like journey, emotional healing in terms of self-love, and that starting to see the results of that journey now, like taking greater risks, opening yourself up more, seeing yourself as more unique and beautiful and whole and, whatever. And then in the crystal oracle, we have Labradorite, individuality, mystery, radiance. Yeah, you're magnetic now. Like the work you've done with this healing journey has like completely flipped things on their head. And that could even go into where I was like, maybe the reasons I wasn't really drawn to Selena before is she wasn't magnetic, right? There was something maybe I sensed, maybe it wasn't about age, maybe it was more about like, yeah, I just sensed from an older, wiser perspective that she wasn't really like in tune with herself yet, but now she's like got that, and she's turned, like there's a more magnetic, radiant, but mysterious thing here. And that mystery with the orchid, I've always associated orchids with Scorpio energy, which is the opposite of Taurus. So that whole axis of energy, Taurus, Scorpio energy, I feel like is really ignited here, where it's like, yeah, you know what you value, you're loving yourself, and it's allowing you to make wiser decisions in the way you're entangling in life and the way you're using your resources, and being more precise about vulnerability and precise about what you share, that generates something magnetic, right? So yeah, that story is kind of funny that this story is coming up. I didn't expect to talk about a pop star and actress. Okay, still needing to make a little space over here. We've got one more oracle card to get a little bit more about this timeline you've been in. Okay, from the Ocean Oracle. Moon. Again, we have radiance. Radiance, labradorite radiance, but it's a different kind of radiance. It's like more soulful. This labradorite feels more like power and magnetic radiance, but the moon feels more soulful, feminine, understanding the cycles of life, the cycles of your body, and finding those more beautiful maybe than you previously have. And you don't have to be, female sex to tap into those kinds of cycles. We all experience the gravity and pull of the moon, and how that brings an ebb and flow of things, and it brings things into a more cyclical way of appearing and progressing in our life versus linear. Okay, let's get some tarot cards to kind of feel this story out a little bit more. Two of Swords. Yeah, I feel like going into this timeline, which I don't know how long this one's been, but because I've been tapping into Selena's story, I feel like it's like a decade or something, like a pretty long one. But the Two of Swords is like, you're coming from, like when you entered this timeline, it's like something happened, like maybe, just tapping into this story more, where it's like you're plunged into a certain world that's a little bit over your head, and you're having to rely on using both logic and intuition to kind of make decisions. But that's a tricky thing, where we can get stuck on the fence when we do all these pros and cons and trying to navigate life. And this is like the Two of Swords wants you to rely a little bit more on intuition and a sense of resonance over logic. So it's a little different than intuition, but intuition I feel like is a little closer to resonance. I feel like we have to use our intuition to really like trust resonance. But it's, a little bit less logical and a little bit more about resonance in understanding paths forwards and making decisions. So that's like maybe something you've had to learn a lot about. Okay, Ace of Swords. You've really had to keep your mind sharp. There's probably been a lot of powerful contracts, powerful communications. Maybe you've been someone that's been doing like a lot of schooling to really sharpen your mind. But something about whatever this timeline has brought has been something that has strengthened your mind. It's really forced you to keep a sharp mind. Okay, let's get a few more tarot. Six of Swords. Let's get two more tarot cards. I want to see, I want some, at least this next card to help me see what the Six of Swords is referring to. Wow, Ace of Wands. Okay, this Six of Swords is sandwiched between two aces. The Ace of Swords, which is power and sharpness and clarity of mind, and the Ace of Wands, which is power and clarity of creativity and spirit and fire, you know, like a fiery spirited energy. So there has been a lot of power that you've been sandwiched between, and you've had to really be on your game. I get the sense that it's like you've had to be so on in this timeline that you're kind of exhausted and you're ready. That's what the Six of Swords, like sandwiched between those, to me means. It's like you're ready for something a little more relaxed maybe, or more, it doesn't have to be any less kind of powerful or intense or creative, but something where it doesn't feel like a constant battle because of that amount of creation energy going on. Where it's like, you know yourself better now, you want like a little bit more control of your creativity and your mind, rather than having to be kind of like almost like a chess piece, like a pawn in other powerful forces. I mean, I think you've benefited, but I think it's also been turbulent, and sometimes you've felt maybe a little over your head. And maybe you're just ready to, you know, like own your own strength, do things your way, not have to like negotiate so much or be under the thumb of others so much. And it's like, no, I want to like call my own shots. I want to, like, I see my power now, right? I'm valuing myself now. I see my power now. I understand my decision-making process better, or like I've refined and am more empowered in the way I make decisions. And so I'm ready to kind of be out of some world and like do things my own way. And then Page of Cups, yeah, like you're eager for like a new way of doing things, a new way of feeling in touch with yourself, a new way of just, you know, and even just exploring just a totally different kind of chapter that's more loving, more soft. I was picking that up earlier. It's just that I see that you're really coming into your power, so I don't want to say that you're going into or wanting a new timeline that doesn't have as much power involved, but it is coming up again where it seems like there's something softer you're wanting. Maybe that is, you know, powerful, to like feeling empowered to choose a softer version of life. An easier, softer, but still very creative, still very like fresh and learning and doing new things and staying like active and pushing how you understand life, you know? Okay, let's see what timeline you are going to be jumping into as this ends. But I feel like this is where you're at now. It's like I get to choose now, and I'm choosing a new chapter. I'm now in a place where I'm choosing a softer approach, like you're this pink dolphin and you're this Page of Cups. That's who you are now. It's like I feel empowered to have control over my life and to have a softer, more playful, more easy, but not less creative, not less pushing your boundaries to learn, just doing it on your terms, in your way, without so much around it, you know? Yeah, very cool. Okay, but this is some kind of chapter that's ending, and I feel like you're finding your peace with this. Okay, so let's see what is going to be coming in to take the place of this timeline. Okay, we've got starfish, find internal validation. That makes total sense. It feels like a continuation, but it is just like a very different, you know, it's like you're not, this timeline isn't so much changing books, but it is a new chapter. And it's a continuation, and you're just like finding the space to, you know, do things on your terms and in terms of what makes you feel good. And so much less concerned about needing permission from authorities or those with credentials or power, or needing friends or family validation or the public's validation. It's like this is a timeline about you figuring out, you know, because of, you know, we're always going to have challenges and things, learning curves and things that are pushing us to grow in a timeline. So this is sort of like, I think you're coming out of the last one knowing that's what you want to be doing now, but then this is going to be a journey to really figure out how to do that. So there will probably still be blips where you're seeking that external validation, because I think maybe that's something that has been wired into you. It's wired into all of us, honestly, but there's something where you're just like, no, I've got to figure out how to not care about that. But it might be like a little bit of tug of war with like going back to old ways, old norms, and like figuring out how to stay more and more in that just internal validation. I love that the dolphin has come up again. And remember, in the old one, it was coming up to play, and in this one, they are above water actually playing, and there's more, you know, it's not alone now. So this is definitely a happier timeline to me. It's time to be softer, to play, to do what makes you happy. And it is a timeline about finding what makes you happy. And there may be challenges in doing that. You may, like I said, go back at times, be pulled back to that external validation wiring. But more and more and more, you'll just be tuning into what makes you happy and doing it for you. Okay, let's see what the flowers have to say. Lily of the Valley. Oh my gosh, happiness, luck, humility. The more you focus on what makes you happy and become unconcerned about what other people are saying or doing, or expectations, or wanting attention or anything, like the more you will find your happiness, the more you will find a sense of luck, and the more you will find like a really sacred sense of life that is more not humble in the way of like, oh, they're from humble beginnings or like living humbly. I don't get that, but it's just like living more simply, living more sustainably, knowing your priorities, finding your rhythms, and really prioritizing and editing life to be more simple, but the things you do every day, you start to do them with more and more skill and more reverence and more just very connected to that day-to-day energy of like the rituals and rhythms and practices you have. Okay, and then we've got the crystal realm, we've got quartz, essence, auricularity, and precision. Yeah, I mean, this is piggybacking off of that humility to me, where it's like editing life, knowing what deserves your time and energy, what brings you happiness, and just like really focusing on, you know, really specific things and developing technique and skill around those very specific things, where you start to, yeah, just develop more nuanced precision and more of like this essence about you that is like untouchable. It's like so sacred. It's so there's like a knowingness that's starting to, like, the more you just make yourself happy, the more there's like a knowingness that has a certain essence and power and precision behind it. Okay, let's see what the Ocean Oracle wants to say. Oh wait, oh sorry. Well, I don't know. I mean, I already pulled this card, so I guess you get 2 crystal. Jade, endurance, ceremony, and legacy. I don't know. Again, I feel like that's just doubling down for me. Legacy, ceremony, endurance. It's still like very, has this essence of living a more sacred life and really knowing what's important to you. So what you want to pass down or what you want to be remembered for is like much more focused, much more precise, much more fine-tuned and nuanced, and has like a deeper essence infused because you're much more focused and connected to what makes you happy. Okay, now we're gonna get the C. We've got goal, persistence, opportunity, and cunning. Yeah, it's just like staying focused, really focusing on what it is you do in your day-to-day and how that over time curates a very specific kind of purpose and quality, and is like quality over quantity, and being really persistent about what you do. Really like dedicating yourself to really specific things. And developing more nuance, more skill, more craft. And that actually is something that brings more opportunity to you, but opportunity that feels like deeply in alignment and that brings happiness to you. Okay, let's see what the tarot wants to say. King of Swords, yeah, the sharpening, the last timeline kept you on like needing to stay sharp and being around very sharp people, has melded a mind in you that now understands not just that there's power there and creation there, but that there's mastery there, and you're really using the mastery of your mind in this timeline and really seeing a new side of yourself of like, whoa, I had no idea how powerful I had become. But it's like, I love this image too, because it's like there's a lot of respect and again, like precision and craft in how you're using the power of mind here. 8 of Wands, things happening very quickly, a lot of expansion. Queen of Swords, well, that could be divine counterpart too, but you also, A, it could be divine counterpart, B, and it can be both of these, knowing how to nourish your mind. Knowing how to keep your mind precise, knowing the authority of your mind and the precision of your mind. It's like, you know, the samurai who practices and practices, and they kind of become the sage samurai. But then the Queen of Swords is more of like, but I also take care of my mind. I don't overdo it. I know when I need to back off. I know when I need to do some mental health practices and give my mind some space to dream and tap into intuition and be a little bit more free flow. But I do see divine counterpart here too. And something, it's interesting because these 8 of Wands are actually horizontal versus vertical, and it's like connecting them. So if there is some kind of divine counterpart coming in, it's coming in very quickly. But if it's more so about you using mind in both the king and queen way, it's like these very much so serve each other and create a channel for things to happen very quickly. The Chariot, life moving forward. Wow, beautiful, guys. And the Wheel of Fortune. My goodness. Yeah, this is like you've been in the, in Stranger Things where there's like the upside down world. It's like, I don't know. I think you've been in some darker, that healing journey of the last timeline, or the timeline you're just wrapping up, has been maybe a little bit treacherous, maybe a little underworldy. But yeah, you're coming up into the light like these dolphins to play, and it's like a lighter, more daytime energy is coming in. A very different season. Okay, to end, we're just going to get a divine feather message, some guidance from Spirit for you guys. We've got Bluebird. You are being gifted with blessings of happiness and peace. Yeah, you've been in a long night, and now you get to enjoy like a beautiful daytime kind of lighter energy. So that's gorgeous. And I feel like because I got the sense that last timeline was one that was a really long timeline. I feel like you equally deserve a long timeline of this, Bluebird happiness. So yeah, that's where I'm going to leave you guys. I hope this resonated and was insightful and helpful, and good luck with this new timeline. I honestly sense, like, when I started organizing for this reading, it was like, this is something that's coming in like a week, it's like this shift that whenever you come here, it's because you're just like right on the precipice of this shift. Okay, I always appreciate likes and shares and subscribes if this really was a reading you enjoyed. That's helpful to me and lets me know what you guys are liking. And yeah, I will see you in future readings. Hello, pile 2. This is my hellebore pile. Put your little spring flower over by the turtle. Okay, so let's jump into this. The way I'm going to do this reading is I want to look at the timeline that you are ending, that you're going to be shifting out of, and just for kind of like to help you tune into the aspect of life that is coming, that's like a chapter closing out. And then we will look at the new one coming in to see what is coming in to replace that timeline, what the new, shift is going to feel like, or where it's at least going, themes, all that. So we're going to do a row of oracle cards to get the theme, and then a row of tarot cards to get a little bit more into the story. So let's look at first the timeline that is ending. This is something I sense that's like, within the next week or so. It's like right on the precipice of like closing out a timeline. Okay, so let's get an animal power card. This one's really wanting to come out. Allow for gentle times. Okay. So the timeline one of the, an aspect or a timeline you have been in, some aspect of life has maybe been a little bit quiet, a little spacious, allowing you kind of space and time to be gentle with yourself. Maybe you've needed that in order to do some like body and like literal physical healing. Just a gentler embrace of time being gentle on you so that your body could kind of. And then we've got truth. Interesting. Truth. Yeah, and also kind of, I'm wondering if the timeline before the timeline that's ending right now was a little bit chaotic or complicated, and you needed some time to let, like when waters get stirred up, they get really muddy and it's hard to have any clarity. But if you can just like pause and let things settle, you see more clearly. And so I feel like there's been some timeline you've been in where you've needed life to settle. You've needed things to be gentle and calm, for certain things to settle so you could see more clearly. And I don't know why the body thing came up for me. So it could even be of like, I've needed life to be gentle around me so I could see what was disturbing, potentially like some body issues, some health issues, mental health issues, physical issues, relational, it could be any kind of issues, but it's like you've needed things to be a little quiet, a little gentle for the cloudiness of things to settle so you could see something with more clarity, see the truth of like what was, I don't know, creating issues and ailments and stress and who knows what. Let's see what the flower oracle wants to say. I find flowers to be very chatty, and we already have a flower here. Dahlia. Discernment, boldness, inner strength. Yeah, I mean, this is such an interesting reading to me that like even like a timeline before this timeline is also speaking up here, which I hope that's making sense to you. Is like the timeline that's ending was in response to a previous timeline that was like, with this Dahlia coming through, it feels very young to me, like that FOMO, fear of missing out kind of energy, and feeling this need to be involved in life just because that's what people do, or that's what you're expected to do, or not knowing who you are. So this urge to kind of like explore life in a multitude of ways to, understand yourself, or this thing in you of like, it could have even been like an aspiration where I need to get to a certain level, so I'm going to push myself without even realizing I'm going down this path that isn't me, that isn't making me happy. So I do think there's something here about finding the truth of you. What is it like? And there was like a timeline that came in that almost forced you to be gentle and a little more still and quiet, to see the truth of you so that you could find that discernment, to really know who you are, and to discover your inner strength and your boldness. So you're not like chasing things that aren't you, or chasing false happiness, or that kind of thing where it's like you're being ping-ponged around in life because you're just chasing like a certain way you think life should be. And the universe always wants to help us. And it was like, whoa, you need to chill. You need to see the truth about who you are, so you stop chasing things that have nothing to do with who you are. And when you see the truth of you, you can find that discernment and find that way of being a little bit more picky and precise and aligned with yourself, and that equates to you being a little bit more confident and strong. So I feel like you're coming into that right now, where it's like you're finding your strength, you're finding your confidence. That the only way you were able to do that was from a more gentle time, letting things kind of fall away from life so you could see clearly what it is that is you, the truth of you, and so what you actually want. Okay, the crystal realm sends tourmaline as a message: splendor, transition, attraction. Ooh. Transition to me is like, yeah, this also another reason for the universe having sent you a more gentle timeline is I think you've been in this kind of like a deconstructionist timeline, where you were kind of seeing through, it's almost like your life was being reflected back to you like a mirror, so you could see the truth of things more clearly and make adjustments and make pivots, which required deconstructing aspects of life. What's an example I could use? So we've been, as a society, it doesn't shock me to see this coming out, because societally we've been in a very deconstructionist time, where we're seeing things like systemic racism, or unfortunately right now some of these things are rolling back, but you can't really stuff it back in the closet. A lot of us have now seen it, what systemically takes place under the currents of life, that are harder sometimes to notice unless you're paying attention in a systemic way. So like how certain people have more privilege in life, hence have like a little bit of a head start, and certain people have a lot of challenges that they're born into, that they had no choice about, whether it was race, gender, some other kind of LGBTQ, some other like minority element of life. And this may have nothing to do with you. I'm just trying to explain deconstruction, where we're now like looking more broadly and saying like, oh, there are these inequitable aspects of life when you look at things in a more complex and sensitive way. And so applying this back into your timeline specifically for you, outside of any societal thing, it's like the universe has been holding up a mirror for you to see certain patterns more sensitively about your life and about yourself, and trying to show you it's not your fault that you were kind of on wrong paths, or chasing wrong things, or unsure of who you were. It was like that would be natural for what the things you've been through in life to have kind of gotten off course. Like, so look at yourself fairly, be gentle with yourself and see the truth of that. Not only the truth of who you are, but the truth of why it was hard to know who you were. Because there were a lot of factors that maybe whether it was that you were born into those factors or that things happened in your life that created certain factors that made it hard to see the truth of you and the truth of your circumstances and the truth of how to be true to yourself and what, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm going circular now. I'm like in a loop. I need to stop. But yeah, there's been this, like, you've been deconstructing aspects of your life that may have affected mental health, that may have affected your body and physical health, that may have affected, you know, I don't know why there's a health thing coming through. I mean, it would make sense when we're looking at things more systemically, that if the truth of you got a little bit obscured and you were chasing wrong things and you didn't really know who you were, like, obviously that's going to affect your mental health and your physical health. So it was like all of that had to settle so you could recover the health aspects, but also see certain truths about who you are so that you could deconstruct and reintegrate. And it's like, I don't know, for those of you who are watching this, it will make more sense, but there's a show called Severance, and it is this thing where it's like based in our modern world. I actually talked about this in last reading. That's funny, it's coming up again. There's like a chip that's ingrained into certain people's brains that when they go into an elevator at work, they sever from their old selves, and like a version of them that's still them but doesn't have their history or any memory of their outside self, goes to work and develops their own self. And so it's like these two versions of themselves, the innie and the outie, like living very separate, compartmentalized lives. But at the end of this previous season, the most recent season, one of the characters was trying to integrate both of those. And so I do feel something about that coming through here, where it's like you've deconstructed aspects of yourself that kept you compartmentalized in ways, or kept parts of you obscured, but it's like you're reintegrating in a more holistic way. And it's been a big transition. But in it, like, you're really coming into a full spectrum with like tourmaline. There's this rainbow aspect here. It's like the whole spectrum of who you are is like really integrating and coming into a much more bold, attractive, original, unique quality. And because that Severance story came through, I actually want to say that what you're doing is quite advanced. And before I was saying, like, maybe you were in this like teenage phase or something that was, keeping you at a disadvantaged starting place of knowing who you are. But I'm actually feeling like most of us start there, and only some of us do the kind of work you've been doing. And I think it's because you are willing to do the work that the universe brought in a more gentle time for you to become this more integrated being, because the universe benefits. The more we all do that kind of stuff, the more everyone benefits, and the more the universe can, help us, and we can help it. And, it's like a better feedback loop. And so to me, the story coming up isn't so much you were more disadvantaged than other people necessarily. I feel like this is more about doing very advanced work. Yeah, that feels accurate, because where this story just went, I was like, oh wait, this is This is pretty high level consciousness. So you probably didn't know who you are to the degree that most people do, but that's still a construct, right? And yeah, the universe recognized you starting to see that, and so it gave you some space to really explore that and do some deconstructing. So you may have felt in this timeline like life kind of collapsed in on itself, but you are coming back together. Like you may be feeling that in the next week of like, oh, everything's coming back together. And now I see myself so holy with so much strength and so much discernment and so much truth. It's beautiful. Okay, let's see what the sea has to say. The sea oracle. Urchin, defense, vulnerability, tenderness. Yeah, I mean, doing that deconstructionist work is really vulnerable stuff. It is. You have, I mean, deconstructing yourself, like, no, you have to be a very strong person to do that. And you have to be willing to be vulnerable. And so you probably have had a lot of defenses up in this timeline. But yeah, but the universe has allowed for some gentle times. So hopefully, even though those defenses were up, you likely haven't had to use that much, but they've been there helping you to have some space to be more gentle and tender with yourself. So that you could be in this very vulnerable deconstructionist timeline. Okay, let's do some tarot cards. See a little bit more about this. Five of Cups. Yeah. This started out hard. Like the thing that may have kicked off this timeline was some sense of loss. If that doesn't resonate to you, it's just like you may feel like you, in general, lost the life you used to have, lost certain people that used to be your people, lost jobs. You know, it's just like your old life is lost to you, and that may have given you grief at moments. You may have still be grieving aspects of that. And Two of Wands, and at the same time looking for that new path. It's like you've been given a compass and you've been trying to figure out the right direction. As you've been having things mirrored to you. Look at this, like this person seems like they're kind of in a mirror reflection. So yeah, a lot of mirroring to help you with that deconstructing, to see things more truly. But having to stare back at that mirroring, like finding a way to be gentle with that. But it's all been helping you to hone in on a more aligned and correct direction for you in life. Nine of Wands. Yeah, you've been doing a lot of looking back, a lot of reflecting on the past. And I think you're starting to be able to look at things in more storyline arcs, instead of sort of coming into like, oh, I just had this difficult, situation with this person or at work, and like being annoyed by it, but being able to like stop in that moment, reflect through it, think through it, and like go back and see the arc that led to that, instead of like taking it as singular moments. You now have this more integrated way of like looking at things in arcs and storylines. Like, okay, so this person is really pissing me off at work, but I got a promotion over them. They come from this kind of background that may give them certain defenses like this. And so like being able to, because you can see the arc instead of just the situation, respond in a more appropriate way. And it's not like being a doormat where you just let people have their way because you can see their arc, but it's like you can get your needs met while still being empathetic. Like, I get where you're coming from, but I also need X, Y, and Z. And so like feeling seen by you, I'm just like using, let's say it's a work scenario and someone at work is pissing you off. And you sleeping on it and being like, okay, I kind of see, as you know, obviously we can't see someone's whole arc, but like, I do understand an arc here that's happening and certain patterns that have led to this, so I can respond in a way where they're feeling seen, but still asking for what I need. And it's really, yeah, like very powerful. Ten of Swords, you're so done with this cycle. This timeline is, I don't blame you. I mean, ugh, deconstructionist work is rough, man. I honestly feel like this could be my timeline. But the good news is like you're, you know, like say it's a course that you've been in. It's like you're graduating, you know. And you are done. You're done, but the timeline's done too. So don't worry, you're almost there. Let's get one more tarot card. Three of Wands. Yeah. The new horizon is coming in and you've done the work. You have graduated with flying colors and something new and beautiful and exciting is about to hit your horizon line. You're about to see it. So yeah, that's just showing you that something beautiful is about to come in. Okay, let's look at what is coming in as this timeline falls away. Snail, lean into true intimacy. Well, you're capable of that now because you know yourself much more intimately in a much more integral, intimate way. I love seeing truth in the last one and then it coming back in here, lean into true intimacy. You know how to do that now. You didn't when the last timeline started. I love the colors of this snail one too. It's a very, you know, it is very colorful and warm. And so I get the feeling of that true intimacy feeling good to you, feeling warm, feeling embracing, feeling pleasant. Okay, let's see a Sacred Destiny card. Pleasure. Yeah. Wow, I love this. It's interesting because there was that like gentleness that the universe, I think, gifted you. But within that container of gentleness, you did very kind of violent work in terms of deconstructing. You had to learn how to be gentle in doing that. But it's like so funny now because it's like that way of being gentle within that kind of violent inner work is now manifesting as this external pleasure of like life just unfolding with pleasure and warmth and beauty. It's really, really cool. I'm liking this for you guys. Okay, let's get flower message about this new one. Butterfly, I love it. Delicacy, transformation, laughter. Beautiful. I mean, you have transformed and now it's like a new sense of self. There's a lightness there. It's just, I mean, I'm looking at these three first cards that came out and it just feels like a dreamland. I don't know. But you're coming from a place where it's like you're not going to be someone that sort of is escapist and like escaping from life in like a make-believe world. I just really feel like how intimately aware of yourself you've become and the kind of transformation you've gone through. It's like life is just more valuable to you. Every second means more to you. You see things in much more color. And so you see things more sensitively, more magically. You're seeing the magic that does exist in reality. And you're finding a playfulness with it, a lightness with it. It's really cool. You're finding that like a way to step through life that is very potent and intimate and magnetic, but has this lightness infused. Yeah, really cool. Okay, let's see what the crystal realm wants to say about the new timeline coming in. We've got obsidian, incisive, transcendence, reflection. Yeah, I mean that's coming in from that last timeline. I like seeing that though, because it feels like part of it, you know, that card would make more sense in the past timeline. But what it's feeling like here is like you're still very aware of the work you've been through and done, and you're not about to forget it. It's been a powerful, potent time. And you are very aware that you've transcended an old boundary and an old version of self through doing a lot of reflection. And it's like you now carry that as a treasure. And you may experience yourself as a spark for others to do that kind of work, because you're carrying that essence. And so like when you really touch someone's life, they may not even realize it was you that sparked that, but you may have this effect where you kind of are that thing that consciously or unconsciously inspires others to do the deep work you've been through. Wowzer. So, but I think you're, on some level, you're aware of that power you hold and the need to be gentle with others, because you know you might spark that kind of like really intense work in them. And so you have like empathy for that. You're kind of like, ooh, I don't wish to go through that again. But I know the power it has, and the transformations are worth it. And I am a reflection for people to, whether they accept the challenge or not, I can now reflect to them the way things were being reflected to me. Like I know how to be a reflection for others now that helps them see the truth a little bit better and deconstruct some truths. Okay, let's see what the sea has to say. Sunken treasure, wealth, mystery, discovery. Yeah, because you are in such a deeper truth with yourself and with life, you just see things more deeply. You see the power behind things. You see the wealth behind discovery and the wealth behind mystery, the potency it holds to go there. And so you're coming into your own treasures because, like I said, with the obsidian, you're holding the work you've done like a treasure because you know how powerful it is. But in starting to see life more as a treasure and more of yourself as a treasure, you start to come into, like external world is responding to that vibration in you, starting to bring treasure your way. Whatever treasure means to you, that could be material or it could be plenty of other things. But there is treasure is resonating with you and responding and attracting to you. And so is discovery and mystery. It's like you're not scared of those things. You can go into those like mystery and discovery realms of that with precision and yeah. Oh, I just dropped your first tarot card. Let's see. We've got Justice. Oh, I love that because it totally shows. Coming up again with that reflection. Justice can be that mirror to us. It's like karma. Karma holds up a mirror to us, and it helps us to do deconstruction, this work. And it's just showing up again and again and again for you. It's like, you know how to do that. Like, you've done it, you've completed it, you've graduated it. You're solid in that. And you know how to be that for others now, how to help ease others into that kind of thing, to come into, with justice. To me, this is more about into your truth. You're so in your truth, and people really want to be in their truth, but sometimes we don't dare to be or know how to be. And so it's a very, attractive vibration for those, many people really craving that. So that's a powerful thing you're wielding right now. You kind of have that justice energy. You know how to, with empathy and gentleness, kind of hold up, some karmic mirrors. The Hermit. Yeah, you're just, you're in your strength. You are developing really in this new timeline. You're really coming into a way of like knowing how to practice things and develop craft and skill and nuance and things. That kind of came through. Pile 1 was a very, very different reading, but this thread came through for that pile as well, where it's like something about the timelines entering right now may just hold that kind of vibration, where it's like there is something about taking life more seriously, taking what you do more seriously, really dedicating yourself to developing very particular, unique to you instincts through developing a craft very technically and skillfully and dedicatedly. You start to, get your own instincts and your own style and things. And I see that coming through this timeline. There's a lot of dedication to your craft, dedication to making life more sacred and more rhythmic, and developing really particular instincts. King of Wands. So amazing authority and creation coming through here. If you want to create a business, if you want to create art, if you want to be a leader in some way, this timeline is giving you position. It's giving you a sense of certain authority that's being recognized and seen. Ooh, and look, there's this past faded reflection of this King of Wands in the background, and it's like, I feel like in the old timeline, something about you was background. You were background, and now you're stepping forefront into your authority. Seven of Pentacles. Yeah, like playing the long game, really being aware of like what you're cultivating in life, what your intentions are, really treating life like a garden that you love and you're nurturing and you're caring for, and you want to give everything you plant the right conditions and the right space, and you don't want to overplant or overcrowd, and it's just like, and planting the right things next to each other. You're just like making life very beautiful, but giving time and effort and care to that. Okay, last tarot card. Seven of Wands, holding your position. Yeah, you may feel some competitors in life, like people kind of wanting to like you're holding us, with that King of Wands, you are holding a position of sorts, like you've earned it and you're holding a position. But there may be some jealousy or there may be some competitiveness around wanting what you have. But just remember that what you're holding authority in is something you cannot fake, that takes crazy effort, intensity, time, and those that have graduated aren't trying to knock anyone off of their throne. Anyone that's gone through what you've gone through gains their own throne in their own unique set of skills. And so any sense you get of someone trying to compete with you or knock you off your throne, it's just like it's not treated as like brush them off like a fly. Like they can't, there's nothing in them that can take your place. There's no threat there. But yeah, there are people that want what you have, but you can't mimic it, you can't copy it, you can't duplicate it. And anyone who has that kind of power that could, they're doing it in their own way. They don't want your throne, They're not interested in being other people. But there is, like I said, with the Justice, there's this attraction, like people want to have what you have and be you. And I think a lot of the people that are jealous or trying to take your throne from you are actually not interested in having your throne. They're actually unconsciously more attracted to doing the work, but they don't know, it's like on this unconscious level, and they're maybe too scared, so they just think like, well, if I just mimic them, I'll have it. But it doesn't matter. There could be 1,000 people mimicking you, and none of them none of them can make a dent. So don't worry about it. They're just attracted to you because they actually really want to go through the transformations and have the mirror held up the way you are. They want what you have, but they may not understand or want to go through what you've gone through, but there's no other way. There's no other way. So yeah, just look at people trying to, my mic just dropped. Look at others who are trying to either mimic or compete more as people you can help, more as people you can hold up a mirror to and set them off on their own journey that will then kind of take them into more of a, away from combativeness into their own kind of spacious, place to do the work. So just keep holding up mirrors to people when you feel they're like infringing on you. Okay, to end, let's get you a divine feather message, just a message from the universe. Parrot, let go of others' thoughts and opinions. It's time to embrace who you really are. I mean, that's a gorgeous ending message. Like, you are, set yourself free, you're there. In the next week, it's all clicking into place, all the work you've done. I don't know how long of a timeline that was, but because I kind of resonate with some of the stuff in here, I don't know if it's fully my pile, but there are things I resonate with. That's been a decade for me. So, a decade, we'll just call it generally, give or take. It might be a little different for everyone, but we'll call it generally a decade timeline is all clicking in and solidifying in the next week. And you're really, this new timeline is just like really embracing who you are. And look how beautiful, Parrot, like so beautiful. So unique, so original. You cannot mimic being a parrot. You can't be a pigeon and pretend to be a parrot. So let the pigeons, there's plenty of other beautiful birds, magpies, cardinals. They're all beautiful. But when they try to mimic you, they're not a parrot. And when they become a parrot, they're not interested in being you. They're interested in being their own parrotness somewhere else. So just embrace that originality and uniqueness that people do like to parrot things. It is like, that is interesting. Your uniqueness is, people will want to parrot it, but don't worry. It's too lightweight. It's not real. They can't actually be you. So let it go and just embrace who you are and let go of their thoughts and their things, Okay, that's where I'm going to leave you guys. What a cool journey hard, honestly, a hard journey you've been on, but amazing what's coming together right now and where the timeline that's about to come in, that could only come in had you not, had you been on the timeline you've been in. But different conditions, different qualities, different feeling timeline. I'm excited for you guys. So just be you and be in your power and let it rip. All right, see you guys. Hello, Pile 3. Welcome to your reading where we're going to be looking at what timeline is wrapping up in the next week and what new timeline is coming in. And you guys picked this sunny, kind of bright dandelion, which is already giving me vibes of sunny times. So let's see what we've got. We are going to, can't quite see that, can you? We are going to start with, the way I'm going to do this is we're going to do oracle cards on the top row and tarot cards on the bottom row. And we're first going to look at the timeline you are just graduating out of. Something is like tying up the loose ends right now, and you're coming into the last week of things congealing with this timeline and really coming into a graduation with it. And then we will do the same process to see what timeline is coming in to replace the one that is wrapping up. Okay, so that one flew out. What timeline are we wrapping up? Octopus, trust your multitasking powers. Love it. So busy timeline, one where you've probably had a lot of community involvement, a lot of learning, a lot of just being like in the mix of life, having your hands in many things, stirring many pots, engaged in a lot. It's probably really been a timeline that you've gained a lot of intelligence and really bulked up a lot of new kind of wiring and pathway in your brain as well as in the world. Okay, let's get a Sacred Destiny card. Love, beautiful. And it does feel just like sort of enjoying like being involved in stuff, life in full bloom, life feeling versatile. And I think, with these different variety of flowers on the card, I think of like late spring when the birds and the bees come out, and it's just about the nectars and the sweetness. For some of you, there could be some kind of love story that's been important too. But I think more in general, it's just been like a really bustling, a lot of experiences, a lot of people, a lot of communities, a lot of colorful energy flowing around. I mean, if you watched Pile 1 or 2, like this is such a different energy, and I love how the dandelion totally hits on that, like just sunny times, Not that there aren't, because I do feel a lot of mental energy here, and not that that doesn't have its own kind of like anxieties, but in general, it just feels like a timeline that's been very colorful and very flirtatious, and just Okay, the flower realm, honeysuckle, affection, deliciousness, bonds. I mean, yeah, there's butterflies in here, totally just a sweet, I don't know, it feels like a very sweet time where you've learned a lot about how to plug into life, how to be part of communities, how to contribute, how to bring people together and bring different ideas together and explore, you know, like it just feels very light and connective and sweet. Okay, let's see what the crystal realm has. Jet, elevation, opening, and grief. Interesting. That's like our one dark card. Okay. So not all peaches and cream. There is something here. You know, our lives are multifaceted. I don't know if there was a sense of loss you had at some point that is exactly the thing that kind of cracked you open to be more engaged in life. Sometimes it takes losses for us to recognize we need to be here and now and like really appreciate what's going on. Appreciate others, appreciate community, appreciate... Yeah, I don't know why the way she's dressed, I kind of have widow vibes. Like some of you may have been through divorces or something that kicked off a period of being like, okay, well, I made my whole world about somebody else. And so that loss holds a lot of grief because I lost all of who I was. This might be literal for some, but it's also a metaphor to help you maybe explore what this could be for you, the grief thing and the opening, kind of cracking open. So say you did go through a divorce and you gave your whole life to this person, you kind of adopted their world and sort of let go of your world. And so then like when that ended, it's like your whole world ended. And so you realize like, I can't have that happen again. Like I really need to be plugged into life in my own unique way outside of any relationship or any other person or any one thing. Like I need life to be pollinated with all sorts of variety and possibility and beauty and love. So the motivation behind this is actually one that comes from like some grief, but grief that really opened you up and elevated you actually, you know, with that elevation. So whatever that is to you, certainly some people coming here may be younger and have never been married. So it might have been, you know, your family moved to a different country or a different state or something, and it's like your whole world kind of, you know, just a few possibilities. So it could be, you know, 1,000 different examples, but let that be a metaphor. Okay, let's see what the Sea Oracle has to say. Distance, turbulence, reward. Yeah, there was some kind of uprooting that happened, but you realize that in that uprooting, the dust that kicked up is like, you found certain treasures about yourself. You found out more about who you are and certain things that were hidden, that you hadn't really had certain experiences that would have accessed certain parts of you. And it's like that turbulence and that disruption to life helped you to tap into certain things about you that had yet to be discovered. And so you did, in whatever happened that brought grief, there were rewards in that. You did discover aspects of yourself that would only be uncovered through some kind of disturbance and turbulence, And then that just set you in motion to like pollinate life with a lot of connecting and ideas and beauty and lightness. Okay, let's see what story the tarot wants to bring up here. 7 of Swords. Yeah, there was some kind of, it does feel like there was some kind of betrayal that kicked off this timeline. And one that opened your eyes to seeing that you need to go your own way. You need to do things your own way and be true to your true colors. Queen of Wands. Yeah, I think you've handled this timeline like a champ. Like whatever happened, it did not crush you. It may have felt crushing. Obviously, there's that grief there that I think even though there's been a lot of pollinating and beauty and lightness, it's still underlying, there's still that grief that it was built on, that you sometimes, grief comes in waves. It still visits you every once in a while. But allowing it to be there and allowing that to open you and kick you off into life, like really gave you this strength, this really like nourished spark that motivated you to go out and create in life and be a part of life and to grow new things and to take charge of your own life, to be more independent and to nurture yourself. And I love there's a sunflower here to match our little dandelion there. It's like you found the source of your own light through this timeline. 4 of Wands, I think you've found a lot of things to celebrate and a lot of people to celebrate with. Definitely, death coming under jet with that grief and opening. Definitely transformed, it's your life. This is a timeline that started with before and after. Before this, life was this, and after this, it was this. And it's been very, very transformative. That after has kicked you into a whole timeline of transforming yourself. The version of you that's before, you may look at and be like, wow, that version of me no longer exists. The Queen of Wands version is what now exists. And Page of Wands, yeah, that matches with the octopus and the flowers for me. The love, it's like, you've learned through all of this, through everything you've been through, like the takeaway and what's congealing here is like this solidity of knowing, like, no matter what happens in life, I can always be gentle with myself and I can always find something new, something fresh that inspires me. Like I have an eternal spark. And so I can handle anything because I know that eternal spark will always find some new thing to awaken me and some new thing to be interested in. Okay, and I think, that's what's solidifying now is that knowledge. That's where you've ended up with this timeline, is that knowledge that it doesn't matter what life brings because I have this core in me that will always find new inspiration and new sparks and can always begin anew. That is eternal in me, and that gives me the courage to be vulnerable and excited about life and to be engaged in life. Okay, let's see what The new timeline coming in is about, what are we getting into here, guys? I definitely felt the dandelion in this first one. I'm wondering if, so I didn't really feel any particular association in pile 1 and pile 2 with their flowers, but I don't know, for you guys. Snake, welcome higher guidance. Okay. Interesting. Kind of want to get a Sacred Destiny card before I comment anything on the snake. Trust. Ooh. I mean, the difference between an octopus and a snake, 8 arms and no arms. And going from pollination of the flowers and love to trust. This is a much more internal timeline coming through. I think the excitement of the last timeline has been beautiful and was a great way to respond to life and engage in life, but it's like something, you're craving something deeper now. Like the 8 arms and the blossoming and chasing of different nectars is beautiful, but it's meandering. And now you're like, I really want to focus on something specific. I really want to dive into my higher self. Maybe it's like, you know, something where it's like, I also want something to believe in life. So for some of you, I don't know that this would resonate with everyone coming to this pile, but it's just like one example that's coming to mind. You may be like, I really want something that I believe in, that no matter what happens in life is this anchor for me. So like I'm going to now study and dedicate some of my life to being a yogi or joining a certain religion or throwing myself into a certain philosophical or cultural kind of belief system, or it doesn't have to be religious, but there's some kind of like something that does help you to develop a higher self and that you really devote yourself to, that gives you that stronger anchor than just pollinating life with a lot of variety and possibility. Maybe that sort of like was a phase that you needed, but now you're like, oh, I want something that's a little more anchored and specific that I can always lean on, no matter what life delivers. Like you're looking for your rock, you know? That thing you can trust that's developed inwardly, but also is like time tested, that others have found a lot of beauty in. Okay, the flower realm is bringing cherry blossom, evanescence, joy, and beauty. And it's a bumblebee with spring flowering branches of the cherry blossom, so very spring energy, which does give a call back to the old timeline. This feels more like a feeling this will give you, like when you throw yourself into like a specific kind of study or system or philosophy, or dedicate yourself to something. I think you might feel yours, you know, instead of like chasing externally all these nectars and beautiful things to pollinate in life, it's like internally you start feeling that little things blossoming in you, and more joy blossoming internally, and starting to feel more beautiful inside of yourself, because there's more like devotion to something more anchoring, and it allows you to be a garden of flowers or a flowering brain. You know, like this spring energy is what you're giving off now instead of you chasing it. It's like this flip. Yeah, I think that feels accurate. Okay, let's get from the crystal realm. Oops. What can it tell us about this new timeline? Tiger's Eye. Vitality, observation, and enigma. Yeah, there's something much deeper that you are focused on and tapping into and exploring. And it is making you a little bit mysterious, but with this like interesting quality of vitality. It's like there's vitality there, but it's like, where is that coming from? Because they're kind of still, they're kind of quiet, but there is this, I mean, that is like a snake, right? They do seem kind of quiet and slow, but there is this like fire in them, right? There is this energy that is enigmatic. It's very mysterious, and that's like you. It's like that's what's coming alive in you. It's this very, you know, even she's kind of slinky. There is this kind of slinky energy. It's very more settled in life. I do feel this as like coming into a much more mature version of you, where you're just like comfortable with yourself and with life. Tapping into our dandelion again, but it's different. Instead of chasing, you know, dandelions are very spring, beginning of spring even, energy. And it's like, instead of chasing all the bright, shiny, beautiful things, they're just oozing off of you because you're so comfortable in yourself and you're blossoming, but not by chasing, but just by like really being devoted to things that you feel you can trust and that feel like rocks and feel like anchors to you. Okay, let's see what the Ocean Oracle, or is it the Sea Oracle or the Ocean Oracle? I forget. I'll put it in the descriptions. We'll just call it the Ocean Oracle. Ooh, I've never picked this one. Xenophora. Hybridity, disguise, curation. Look how unique it is. It's like curating things that are very specific and unique and enigmatic, right? It's like hybridity, disguise. It is like you're piecing yourself together in a very new and distinctive way. There's like a very distinct way of being that's coming off of you, and it's built of all of the pieces of yourself that have ever been, and it's like you're remolding yourself to curate the best of every phase of life, and to really then like integrate all those things and become this very distinctive thing, this distinctive creature that is like hard not to look at or be attracted to because it's distinct, right? It's just like very, there's some inner thing going on with you that can't, people can't put their finger on, and it's because it's internal. It's because it has nothing to do with anything external in life. It's all coming from this deeper inner place that you're really devoting yourself to. And it's like, yeah, your sense of style is taking on a whole new kind of quality that I don't know. The only thing I can say about it is that it's distinct. I wouldn't necessarily say it's beautiful or it's creative or extravagant, or like it's just different. But it's all this, like, I don't know, this inner space you're discovering and committing yourself to and devoting to is just like, I don't know, it's bringing life together in this very artistic yet obscure way. I don't know if I have the right words. I'm trying to find the right words, but I keep saying the same thing, and I'm like, I'm not quite getting it. It's like, let me look at this card again. Yeah, I mean, it what's coming through again, and I know I said it, but it is what's settling, is like there's a particular style that you're coming into that is unique to you, that is not replicable, that is it's like, you know how we can say with an artist, like that's very Georgia O'Keeffe, or that's very Salvador Dali, or, you know, like whoever, there's all sorts of other arts, or that's like totally Sofia Coppola movie, or that's an Annie Leibovitz photograph, or, you know, like you could take any realm of art, and this doesn't have to be about art, it could be the way you put spreadsheets together, but you're taking on a style like that where people might say, oh, that's very you know, that's very Coco, or that's very whatever your name is. I don't know why I said Coco. That feels more like a dog's name. That's very I'll use a general name. That's very Sarah, or that's very Sally, or I don't know. You know, like it's just very you. But people are noticing, like it's like, oh, that's their style. Okay, let's get some tarot about this new timeline coming in. I do have to say it feels like it's interesting because the first two piles, it kind of felt like, even though the timeline was jumping and it was a very different timeline, I could see the thread that related them, or how they were built upon each other. And this one to me feels like we've closed a book. That last timeline is like the end of a whole book instead of a chapter. And it's like the new timeline is like just a totally different book. It's like totally different genre. So this timeline jump may initially feel, you know, strange to you. Like, whoa, I've got to get used to these new characters and this new setting and this new world, because it's like a different book that I'm reading now. Okay, so we've got 5 of Swords. Okay. 6 of Wands. That feels like a response to the 5 of Swords. Let me get a couple more. Let's just get all the tarot out. Trying to fill into that 5 of Swords. 4 of Swords. Queen of Cups, that's what we want to get to. And 6 of Cups, okay. We'll get there. Okay, starting this timeline out, or something that might kick it off, is sort of a feeling of you against the world for some reason. It's like there's like a lose-lose situation, but you may be trying to fight to get your way in something. And it's like you lose if you let go and you don't give up on, if you give up on getting your way and just walk away, you lose something. But if you keep fighting to get your way, you also lose something. Like it just burns bridges. And so there's something here that there's like a paradox that's kicking off this timeline, where it's like is this battle worth fighting that I feel like I'm fighting? And am I doing more damage than good in fighting this to me and everything else? It shows if you want to keep fighting that you will be victorious. But my question here is like, is it going to be worth it though? And so that might be part of what you're learning with this new, like, I feel like this is the instigator to this journey. Is like maybe you win something, but was it worth winning? And that's kicking you into a whole new way of thinking and exploring, like, how could I have come from a very different angle and from a higher place with all of this? Like, I didn't really enjoy that win. It wasn't worth it, but like, what was the alternative? And it's like, okay, that kicks you into exploring life in a very different way and exploring like higher wisdom and higher self in very different ways, and figuring out how to trust, paths through the right way to respond to things that is taking you to a new, like if you think of an onion, it's like going into 2 to 3 layers deeper of yourself, because something just, it's like, just wasn't, something's not going to be worth it coming up soon. But I think you have to do it. I think you have to go through it to see that. Like, I think you have to have the win and keep persisting. I mean, you don't have to. Maybe you hear this and you're like, whoa, and that scenario comes up and you're like, okay, is there a better win? Is there a better victory here? And that could equally be it, where it's like, well, what would be a true victory in this scenario? Because me getting the victory isn't really a victory. So like, what is the actual victory? And I need to step into that like mind of the eagle and elevate, rise higher, see things from a totally different perspective and from some kind of established wisdom that can help me see differently. So it could be that, like questioning what is victory here, or for some it could be getting the victory and being like, well, that wasn't worth it. But what was the alternative? And that, either way, something around that is like kicking this off to be like, okay, I need to go a couple layers deeper to get into much higher wisdom. And I do see this 4 of Swords. I see you taking some time away from normal engagement in life. So last timeline was very engaged in life, and this time you're like, I need to meditate. I need to still my mind. I need to understand life and others and myself in more calm, clear, higher ways. Maybe in more empathetic ways too. So how do I, so I do, this does feel sort of like going into a really deep study of something. That could, it could be a certain art study, but it does feel kind of spiritual, but arts can take on, a sense of spirituality. But there's something that's like you're stepping back from life, you're calming your mind, and you're really contemplating things in deeper ways and giving yourself over to some kind of study, it feels like. And I think you find yourself, you find a new essence of you. It's like this woman in the tiger's eye. It's like removing yourself and devoting yourself to some kind of study. It just opens up like yourself, like you're a refined artisan perfume that a master has made, and it's like, oh, that's my essence. It's more about essence than winning. It's more about essence and caring in life and seeing others and seeing myself than it is. And that gives you like this je ne sais quoi, like there's this new essence that just opens up in you by turning inward a little, by devoting yourself to some kind of study or something. And it's just like you really, and even the Six of Cups to me is like your essence is released. And that's where you come into your distinctive style. So it might take some time to get there. By the end of this timeline, which may be a decade, who knows? It might be just a year. There's something that opens up in you like a fine artisan perfume, and there's this essence there. And you know how to touch life with essence and depth and something more anchored and something more distinct and just you. How do we get it? I feel like the last two piles, the timelines kind of came through. Well, in the timeline you're coming out of, there was a timeline, but it was more individual to each of you, but there was something that was like that would have kicked off the timeline. So for you can gauge how long that's been. My senses, for all of these, they've been like a decade long timeline, like pretty long timelines. For some, it might be a little shorter, like 5 years, but I feel generally like this 10-year vibe, and that might be the same here, where it's like, look, 4, 5, and 6 too. I feel like year 4, 5, and 6 are going to be powerful transformations for you, where you're really finding that. And then 7, 8, 9, 10 is when you really come into that distinct essence and distinct style. So it does kind of feel generally like 10 years. So for the first 3 years, you may be in that kind of like having some things. There may not just be one thing that happens, but there might be some things that happen that start turning you more inward to be like, well, what is the higher way through this? Why is it me against the world, or this group against that group? And that even could be like more political, where it's like we've been so polarized and you're trying to figure out like, well, how do we, no one's winning when we just polarize life and fight each other in such a polarized way. Like we all end up losing in some way. So like, what's the higher way through that? So it could be less personal, these questions of winning and victory. They may be less personal and more theoretical. But either way, I think these first 3 years, there could be personal or theoretical questions and experiences that push you further and further away from you step into this and you're already away from that pollination energy and meandering, but it's like the first 3 years will push you deeper and deeper and deeper into like devoting yourself to some higher wisdom and whatnot. And then years 4, 5, and 6, it's like you're in that and you're devoted to it and you're kind of removed yourself from life a little. And then like 7 through 10 is like you get into your distinct style and there's some essence that comes through about you that's just like you're just in your power. It's just luscious. I don't know what to say about it. It's just it's profound, you know. So, okay, interesting stuff. Very interesting. So, I would say the first 3 years of this timeline are going to be a little, there's going to be questions, just questions that take you deeper and more questions that take you even deeper. And just like a lot of questioning, which it can be a beautiful experience too, because you're, I think, discovering life in very different ways. And I think that's fascinating to you. Just like the snake, like snakes are fascinating. So I think you're captivated. I think you're fascinated. So it's not like, oh, just trial after trial. It's like these questions coming up that intrigue you, you know, and they fascinate you and they pull you in. And it's all about what's the higher version of victory. You know, how do we all win instead of no one winning? That kind of stuff. Okay, let's just get you a last card, a Divine Feather message. Just a little piece of guidance from Spirit about this new timeline. White Swan, the power of divine grace is within you. Yeah, and I feel that, like, moving from that octopus that's like entangled in everything to finding what's that more divine place and graceful place that comes from something deep within and that is much more powerful than sometimes that need to feel plugged in and connected everywhere is like coming from a place of anxiety rather than power. And it's like you're flipping that on its head. And it's like, that was great. That was beautiful. That was fun. It was lively. And I needed that. But now I need to find my actual power. And that's something that's inside now that I need to turn to. Gorgeous. Wow. Really interesting readings. I am very excited for you guys because, like, the result of this, it's a very intriguing energy overall. Like, even just the start of it is like something's fascinating, you know? And you come out from entering this timeline of being fascinated by something and you exit being the thing that is fascinating. Oh, yeah, I like that. Okay, so there you go. All right, if you guys like this, I always appreciate support, likes, shares, subscribes. Yeah, wishing you well on this new timeline. And yeah, really fascinating stuff. Okay, I will see you guys in another reading.